Before we dive in, a quick disclaimer. The financial figures and career paths discussed in this video are based on extensive research, industry data, and real-world examples. However, they are for informational and educational purposes only. Your individual earnings and career progression will depend on your location, experience, skill set, and the specific company you work for. This presentation is not financial advice. Let's talk about a guy named Kevin. 3 years ago, Kevin was working the night shift at a bottling plant in Ohio, making $17 an hour. It was a decent job, but it was a dead end. He saw new robotic arms and automated conveyors getting installed every few months, and he knew deep down that his job had an expiration date. He felt the anxiety, the feeling of being stuck, of being replaceable. Fast forward to today. Kevin is pulling in $123,000 a year plus overtime. He has zero college debt. He bought a house. He's home for dinner every single night. The best part? He works in the exact same facility. But now, instead of being replaced by the robots, he's the one who tells the robots what to do. Kevin became an automation technician. And his story is not a one-in-a-million fluke. It's happening right now in every state, in cities and towns all across America. This is the hidden blue-collar gold rush that almost nobody is talking about. So if you've ever felt stuck in a job that's going nowhere, if you're good with your hands and like solving puzzles, or if you're just looking for a legitimate path to a six-figure income that doesn't involve sitting in a cubicle for the rest of your life or drowning in student loans, then you need to pay very close attention. Because in this video, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most in-demand, high-paying skilled trades in the United States. We're not just going to give you some bogus, averaged-out salary from a job website. That's useless information. Anyone can Google that. No, we are going to do a deep dive. We're going to give you the real numbers from the real world. We're going to break down exactly how much you can expect to make as an automation technician based on your experience level, the state you live in, the industry you work in, and even the specific skills you possess. We're going to show you the roadmap from earning $45,000 a year as a rookie to breaking that coveted $100,000 barrier, and even pushing into the $150K to $200K range that the elite level techs command. This is the complete guide nobody else has put together. The biggest problem is that the term automation technician is incredibly vague. It's a massive umbrella that covers a dozen different roles with wildly different pay scales. This is why the online salary aggregators are so wrong. They lump a guy who changes sensors on a conveyor belt in a warehouse making $55,000 a year in with a senior control specialist who designs and commissions entire robotic cells for a pharmaceutical company, making $180,000. It's the same title, but it's not the same job. It's not even in the same universe. There's the maintenance-focused technician, often called an I&E tech, instrumentation and electrical, or a mechatronics technician. These are the frontline warriors. They're the ones who get the call at 3 a.m. when a multi-million-dollar production line grinds to a halt because a single proximity switch failed. They have to troubleshoot complex systems under immense pressure. They need to understand mechanical systems, pneumatic and hydraulic actuators, electrical wiring, motor controls, and have a solid foundation in reading schematics. Their world is about diagnostics and repair. They keep the factory running. Their pay is good, often starting in the $60,000 to $75,000 range, and can climb to over $90,000 with experience. Then you have the next level up, the controls technician or automation specialist. This role is less about reactive maintenance and more about proactive improvement and integration. These are the people who can actually plug a laptop into a PLC, a programmable logic controller, which is the brain of the machine, and get online with the code. They can diagnose a problem not just by looking at the hardware, but by reading the ladder logic or structured text that's running the system. They might not write the entire program from scratch, but they can modify it, add new features, integrate a new sensor, or fine-tune the timing of a robotic arm to make the line run 5% faster. That 5% might not sound like much, but in a massive factory, it can translate to millions of dollars in increased production. This is where the pay starts to jump significantly. It's not uncommon for these technicians to start in the high 70s or low 80s and quickly move into the six-figure territory. And then you have the top tier: the controls engineer, the automation engineer, or the systems integrator. These are the architects. They design the systems from the ground up. They work with the customer to understand their needs, select the right robots, the right PLCs, the right vision systems, and then they write the complex software that makes it all work together in a symphony of precision. They're not just fixing the machine, they built the machine. They often travel to different sites, commissioning new lines and training the local technicians. This is a high-stress, high-skill, and extremely high-reward role. These are the people pulling in $120,000, $150,000, even $200,000 a year or more, especially if they work for a systems integrator or do contract work. So when someone asks, how much does an automation technician make? The only correct answer is, it depends. What kind of technician are you talking about? And that's the clarity we're going to provide. We've spent hundreds of hours digging through real-world salary data, talking to hiring managers at major manufacturing companies, and interviewing dozens of technicians at every level, from the greenhorn just out of a 2-year associate's program to the seasoned veteran who has seen it all. We're going to cut through the noise and give you the ground truth. We'll break down the massive pay differences between working in a place like Michigan or South Carolina, which are automotive and manufacturing hubs, versus a state like California or Massachusetts, which have booming biotech and life sciences industries. The pay scales aren't what you think. We'll show you why working in the food and beverage industry might offer more stability, but working in pharmaceuticals or semiconductors could add an extra $40,000 to your annual paycheck for the exact same skill set. We're going to talk about the skills that truly move the needle on your salary. Why is knowing how to program an Allen Bradley PLC more valuable in the Midwest, while Siemens experience might be your golden ticket in other regions? How much more can you command if you have experience with specific robot brands like Fanuc or Kuka? What about vision systems like Cognex or Keyence? These aren't just lines on a resume. They are dollar signs. Each one is a bargaining chip that can add thousands, or even tens of thousands, to your earning potential. So let's start at the beginning. Let's build this from the ground up. Forget the senior level guys for a minute. Let's talk about a brand new technician. You've just graduated with a 2-year degree in mechatronics or industrial maintenance, or maybe you've completed a company apprenticeship. You have the foundational knowledge, but very little real-world experience. What is a realistic entry-level salary you can expect to earn in the United States right now? The answer is a massive range, and the single biggest factor is geography. The cost of living is part of it, but the bigger factor is the concentration of industry. So let's get specific. We're going to break the country down region by region and look at the real starting salaries for a rookie automation tech so you know exactly what to expect. Let's start in the industrial heartland of America, the Midwest. The Rust Belt. This is where modern manufacturing was born, and it's where automation is staging a massive comeback tour. Think about it. Michigan, Ohio, Indiana. This is the land of the big 3 automakers, of sprawling factories that have been churning out products for 100 years. But these aren't your grandfather's factories anymore. They are gleaming high-tech facilities run by an army of robots, and they are desperate for the technicians who can speak their language. Let's land in Michigan first, the epicenter of the American auto industry. When you think of automation here, you're thinking about the massive robotic arms that weld car bodies together with terrifying precision. You're thinking of the miles of smart conveyors that shuttle parts across a factory floor the size of a small city. The demand here isn't just strong, it's foundational. So what does a rookie tech, fresh out of a 2-year associate's degree program in mechatronics or industrial automation, make here? You can expect a starting base salary in Michigan to fall between $62,000 and $72,000 a year, right out of the gate. Now let's be clear, that's your base. The secret sauce in manufacturing, the thing that separates the earners from the high earners, is overtime. And in the auto industry, when a new model is launching or demand is high, overtime is plentiful. It's not uncommon for a first-year technician to tack on an extra $15,000 to $20,000 in overtime pay, pushing their total compensation well into the $80,000 range. Let's make this real. Picture a guy named David. He's 22, just graduated from a community college near Detroit. He lands a job at a Tier 1 automotive supplier, a company that makes seats for Ford and GM. His first day, he walks onto a floor that's a symphony of organized chaos. The air hums with the sound of servos and pneumatic hisses. His job is to keep a specific line of robots, the ones that stitch leather and install heating elements, running with zero downtime. When a sensor fails, the line stops, and the company starts losing thousands of dollars a minute. David is the guy they call. He's not just a mechanic, he's a high-pressure surgeon for million-dollar machines. With his $70,000 base salary plus overtime, David is living a life his friends with 4-year liberal arts degrees can only dream of. He's not drowning in debt. He can afford a solid apartment in a decent suburb, make his truck payment, and still have money to save. In Michigan, that kind of salary gives you a comfortable, stable, middle-class life from day one. You can start thinking about buying a house in your early 20s, something that feels like a fantasy in other parts of the country. Now let's drive south into Ohio. Ohio's manufacturing scene is more diverse. Yes, you have major automotive players like Honda, but you also have a huge presence in aerospace, consumer goods, and food processing. This diversity creates a stable job market for automation techs. If the auto industry has a slow year, the demand from a company like Procter & Gamble or a massive Amazon fulfillment center doesn't just disappear. In Ohio, the starting salary for a new technician is very similar to Michigan, hovering in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. The overtime opportunities might be slightly less predictable than in the auto-centric plants up north, but they are still significant, especially in logistics and distribution. These fulfillment centers are marvels of automation, with robots that can pick, pack, and sort goods at a mind-boggling speed. When one of those systems goes down, it's an all-hands-on-deck emergency. Imagine a woman named Maria in Columbus. She spent 5 years working in retail feeling stuck. She enrolled in a 9-month industrial maintenance certificate program. Now she works the night shift at a massive food distribution warehouse. She's troubleshooting PLC logic on a conveyor system that sorts 10,000 cases of product an hour. The work is challenging, it's a puzzle every single night, and she loves it. Her starting pay of $65,000 is more than double what she made in her old job. She's building a savings account for the first time in her life. In a city like Columbus or Cincinnati, where the cost of living is very reasonable, a $65,000 salary isn't just a living, it's a launch pad. It's the kind of financial security that changes the entire trajectory of your life. Next, let's head over to Indiana. Indiana is a quiet giant in the world of manufacturing. It's a leader in steel production, RV manufacturing, and, critically, pharmaceuticals and medical devices. This is a key distinction. Working as an automation technician at an Eli Lilly facility in Indianapolis is a different world than working at a steel mill in Gary. The pay reflects that. For general manufacturing in Indiana, the starting salary is right in that same Midwest sweet spot, $60,000 to $70,000. But if you can land a job in the pharmaceutical or medical device sector, you're looking at a premium. Why? Because the environment is highly regulated. You're working in clean rooms. The documentation has to be perfect. The standards for machine calibration and performance are incredibly strict because people's lives are on the line. Companies are willing to pay more for technicians who are meticulous, detail-oriented, and can work within these stringent FDA guidelines. A rookie tech in this specialized sector in Indiana could start closer to $75,000. Think about it. The PLC that controls a robotic welder is complex, but the PLC that controls the precise mixing of chemicals for a life-saving drug, where one tiny error could ruin a multi-million-dollar batch, is on another level of critical. The technicians who can handle that pressure, who can validate and document every change they make, are incredibly valuable. And in a state like Indiana, with one of the lowest costs of living in the country, a $75,000 starting salary is borderline royalty. You can live an incredibly comfortable life, build wealth, and have access to stable, high-paying work that is virtually recession-proof. So the story of the Midwest is one of stability, accessibility, and opportunity. The salaries, ranging from the low 60s to the mid-70s for an entry-level position, are strong on their own. But when you factor in the low cost of living, their true power is unlocked. This is where a technician's salary buys you the classic American dream. A house, a yard, and financial security. The work is tangible. You're building the cars people drive, making the products people use, and packaging the food people eat. It's a region built on making things, and it's rewarding those who keep the machines that make things running. But this is just one corner of the country. The Midwest is defined by its legacy industries and its affordable lifestyle. What happens when you move to a region defined by explosive growth, new technology, and a completely different economic climate? What if you're not interested in cars or pharmaceuticals, but in building electric vehicles, rockets, and the next generation of consumer electronics? The story changes, the salaries change, and the lifestyle that money can buy you, well, that changes dramatically. We need to head south, to the booming factories of the Sun Belt, where a new chapter of American manufacturing is being written. And the paychecks being handed out there tell a fascinating and very different story. Let's start in Texas. It's impossible not to. The Lone Star State isn't just a state anymore. It's an economic empire. And for automation technicians, it's a modern-day gold rush. Forget the dusty image of oil derricks and cowboys. Think sprawling gigafactories outside of Austin, gleaming robotics arms, assembling electric vehicles at a dizzying pace. Think of the labyrinthine refineries near Houston, where a single technician is responsible for overseeing a digital nervous system worth billions. In the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, a logistics and distribution hub for the entire country, automated warehouses the size of small towns are the new normal. Here, the demand isn't just steady, it's ferocious. A technician fresh out of a 2-year associate's degree program, with a good grasp of Allen Bradley or Siemens PLCs, can walk into a job starting at $65,000, even $70,000. That's not the ceiling, that's the floor. We're talking about someone with zero real-world experience, besides their lab time in school, starting at a salary that rivals a 4-year business degree. But let's talk about the experienced technicians, the ones with 5 to 7 years under their belts. In the Midwest, that technician might be pushing $75,000, maybe $80,000 if they're a star player. In Texas, that same technician is looking at a base salary of $85,000 to $95,000. And that's before we even talk about the overtime. The sheer volume of new construction and system integration projects means 10 to 15 hours of overtime a week is common, often paid at time and a half. Suddenly, a $90,000 base salary balloons into a $120,000 annual income. This isn't an exception. For many, it's the expectation. Why? Simple economics. There are more high-tech jobs than there are skilled bodies to fill them. Companies are poaching talent from each other with sign-on bonuses, better benefits, and most importantly, bigger paychecks. Now let's drive east, into what automotive insiders call the Auto Alley. This corridor, stretching roughly from Georgia through Tennessee and up into South Carolina, has become the new global heart of car manufacturing. While Detroit was fighting for its life, companies like BMW, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Kia, and Mercedes-Benz were quietly pouring billions of dollars into building the most advanced auto plants on the planet. Take Spartanburg, South Carolina, home to BMW's largest manufacturing facility in the world, or Chattanooga, Tennessee, where Volkswagen builds its electric SUVs. These aren't your grandfather's assembly lines. These are gleaming cathedrals of automation. A single factory can have over 2,000 robots, and every single one of those robots needs to be programmed, maintained, and troubleshot by an automation technician. Let's imagine a technician we'll call Mike. Mike was working at a parts supplier in Ohio, making $62,000 a year. He was good at his job, but raises were small, and the talk was always about cost-cutting. He saw an ad for an automation role at a new EV battery plant in South Carolina. He was hesitant. It was a big move, but the offer was $85,000, plus a $5,000 relocation bonus. He took the leap. Not only is his salary $23,000 higher, but his cost of living is substantially lower. His mortgage on a brand new larger house is less than his rent was on an old apartment in Ohio. His property taxes are a fraction of what they were. His $85,000 salary in South Carolina gives him the purchasing power of a 6-figure salary back home. Mike's story isn't unique. It's happening by the thousands. In this corridor, an experienced robotics technician or PLC programmer can comfortably command a salary between $75,000 and $90,000. The competition is so fierce that companies are partnering directly with local community colleges, funding their mechatronics programs just to get first dibs on the graduates. They're creating their own talent pipeline because they can't find enough people to hire. But there's one region in the Sun Belt that makes even the Texas boom and the auto alley rush look tame. To find the absolute highest paying jobs for automation technicians in America right now, we have to head west. To the desert. Welcome to Arizona. Specifically, the suburbs of Phoenix. Something is happening here that is fundamentally reshaping the global economy. The United States has decided it no longer wants to be dependent on foreign nations for the most critical component of modern life, the semiconductor, the microchip, and billions upon billions of federal and private dollars are being unleashed to build massive new chip fabrication plants, or fabs, in the Arizona desert. An automotive plant is complex. A chip fab is a different universe of complexity. The automation inside a company like Intel or the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company TSMC is arguably the most sophisticated on Earth. We're talking about robots moving silicon wafers with nanometer precision in perfectly clean environments. A single speck of dust can ruin millions of dollars worth of product. The uptime requirement isn't 99%. It's 99.999%. The automation technicians who work here are the absolute elite. They aren't just fixing a robot that put a door on a car crooked. They are diagnosing and maintaining systems so complex, so sensitive, that a tiny calibration error could disrupt the global supply chain for everything from iPhones to F-35 fighter jets. And the pay reflects that reality. An entry-level technician at one of these fabs, often called an equipment technician or manufacturing technician, can start in the high 60s or low 70s. But the career progression is rapid. Within a few years, as they gain experience on these proprietary, state-of-the-art systems, their salaries soar. An experienced automation technician in the semiconductor industry in Arizona can easily earn between $95,000 and $120,000. And for the senior specialists, the true gurus who can solve the unsolvable problems, salaries of $140,000 or more are not unheard of. This is Silicon Valley level pay, but for a hands-on blue-collar skilled trade. So we see a clear pattern. The geographic location has a monumental impact. The national average of around $69,000 is almost meaningless. It's a blurry photograph of a highly detailed landscape. In the new industrial heartlands of the Sun Belt, the reality is a baseline of $70,000, an average closer to $85,000, and a ceiling that is smashing through the six-figure barrier. It's a simple, powerful story of supply and demand. The demand for advanced manufacturing is exploding in these business-friendly states, but the supply of highly skilled technicians who can keep the robots running hasn't caught up. So their value and their paychecks have skyrocketed. But hold on, it's not just about where you work. Even within a high-paying state like Texas or Arizona, the specific factory you walk into can change your financial destiny, because the industry you choose to specialize in, that's a whole other layer to this puzzle. A technician working in a food and beverage bottling plant lives in a different financial world than one working in a pharmaceutical lab, even if they use the exact same brand of robot. There's a hidden hierarchy of industries, a secret ladder of compensation, and climbing it can mean the difference between a good living and truly life-changing wealth. And some of the industries at the very top of that ladder are not the ones you think. So let's start at the bottom of that ladder, the foundation. This is where most people picture automation in their heads: general manufacturing. Think about a plant that makes plastic bottles or cardboard boxes, or basic consumer goods. The automation here is crucial, but it's often high-volume, low-margin work. The PLCs might be a bit older, the robots are workhorses doing the same repetitive task a million times, and the primary goal is uptime at the lowest possible cost. When a machine goes down in a packaging plant, the company is losing money for sure. But they're losing it in cents and dollars per unit. The pressure is on, but it's a manageable operational pressure. Because of this, the salaries for technicians in these fields tend to form the baseline. They are respectable, solid, middle-class incomes, often in the $60,000 to $75,000 range, depending on location and experience. It's a great career, but it's just the first rung. Now let's take a step up the ladder. Let's talk about the automotive industry. This is a different beast entirely. The complexity skyrockets. You're not just moving a box from point A to point B. You're dealing with massive synchronized robotic arms welding a car frame with sub-millimeter precision. You have vision systems ensuring every component is perfectly aligned. You have hundreds, sometimes thousands, of robots and PLCs all communicating in a perfectly choreographed dance. The philosophy here isn't just uptime, it's just-in-time manufacturing. A single minute of downtime on a main assembly line doesn't just cost a few $100s. It can cost tens of thousands of dollars. The entire supply chain is built around that line never ever stopping. The pressure on an automation technician in an automotive plant is immense. You're not just a mechanic, you're a high-stakes first responder. The skills required are a significant step up. You need to understand advanced robotics, complex networking, and be able to diagnose problems under a ticking clock that's burning a hole in the company's pocket. And the pay reflects that. Technicians in the automotive sector often see their salaries climb into the $80,000, $90,000, or even over $100,000 range, especially if they have specialized skills with brands like Fanuc or Kuka, or experience with specific processes like body in white or paint shop automation. This is a big jump. It's the difference between a comfortable life and a very prosperous one. But this isn't the top of the ladder. Not even close. We're about to enter a different stratosphere. We're going to talk about industries where a single hour of downtime isn't measured in thousands but in millions. Industries where a mistake doesn't just mean a bad product, it can mean a global recall, catastrophic lawsuits, or even life and death. Welcome to the world of pharmaceutical and biotech manufacturing. And right behind it, semiconductor fabrication. These are the hidden kingdoms of automation, and they pay a king's ransom. Let's focus on pharma for a minute because it perfectly illustrates why this jump is so massive. Imagine you're a technician in a plant that makes aspirin. Now, imagine you're a technician in a plant that makes a cutting-edge cancer immunotherapy drug, where a single small batch is worth $20 million. Do you think the expectations for those two jobs are the same? In a pharmaceutical or medical device facility, every single action you take is governed by the FDA. The standard isn't make it work. The standard is Current Good Manufacturing Practices, or CGMP. This is a legal framework that dictates everything. Every time you touch a piece of equipment, it has to be documented. Every change you make to a PLC program has to go through a rigorous validation process that can take weeks. You can't just swap out a sensor. You have to use the exact same model from an approved vendor, and then run a battery of tests to prove it works exactly as intended and document every single step. The job is no longer just about fixing the machine. It's about proving with an exhaustive paper trail that the machine is and always has been operating in a state of control. The cost of failure here is astronomical. If a batch of that $20 million drug is compromised because a temperature sensor wasn't calibrated correctly, the entire batch is destroyed. If a product with a faulty seal makes it to market, it could be a multi-hundred-million-dollar recall. The automation itself is on another level. You're working with sterile filling lines in cleanroom environments where you have to wear a full bunny suit. You're maintaining bioreactors that are growing living cells, where the slightest deviation in pH or oxygen levels can ruin everything. You're working with high-speed, high-precision vision systems that are inspecting vials for microscopic cracks or particles, rejecting anything that is less than perfect. The skills you need are incredibly specialized. You need to understand things like 21 CFR Part 11, which governs electronic records and signatures. You need to be an expert in validation and calibration, in writing and executing testing protocols. You become part automation expert, part quality assurance specialist, part regulatory compliance officer. And for that unique high-stakes combination of skills, the pay is extraordinary. It is not uncommon for a senior automation technician in the pharmaceutical or biotech industry to earn $120,000, $140,000, even $160,000 or more as a base salary. That's before you even factor in overtime, annual bonuses that can be 10 to 20% of your salary, and incredible benefits packages. Why? Because a company that stands to lose $20 million on a single bad batch will happily pay a technician $150,000 a year to make sure that never, ever happens. You are no longer a cost center, you are an insurance policy. You are the guardian of the company's most valuable assets. The same logic applies to semiconductor manufacturing. When you're working in a multi-billion-dollar fab, maintaining the robotic systems that handle silicon wafers worth millions, in an environment that has to be thousands of times cleaner than an operating room, your value is immense. A single microscopic dust particle, introduced because a filtration system you maintain wasn't working perfectly, can destroy dozens of microchips. The cost of that error is staggering. So again, companies will pay a massive premium for technicians who can operate flawlessly in that zero margin for error world. This is the secret that many technicians don't realize early in their careers. They focus on learning PLC programming or robotics, which is essential, but they don't think strategically about the economic environment in which they apply those skills. Moving from a box factory to a car factory is a promotion, but moving from a car factory to a pharmaceutical plant isn't just a promotion. It's like changing games entirely. You're playing for a different level of stakes, and your compensation reflects that you are one of the few people qualified to sit at the table. Your technical ability might be the price of entry, but it's your understanding of the industry's unique demands, the regulations, the cost of failure, the specialized processes, that unlocks the highest levels of income. But even within these elite industries, not all roles are created equal. There's another layer to this, another axis on the graph of compensation that can create an even wider gap between the high earners and the truly elite. It has less to do with the industry you're in, and more to do with the specific type of work you're doing within it. Let's call this the Great Divide. On one side, you have the plant-based automation technician. On the other, you have the field service or integration technician. They might have the exact same foundational skills, the same certifications, the same ability to look at a mess of wires and ladder logic and make sense of it all. But their day-to-day lives, their stress levels, and most importantly, their paychecks are worlds apart. First, let's talk about the bedrock of the industry. the plant-based in-house automation technician. Think of them as the resident specialist, the guardian of the machines. Their world is a single building, or maybe a campus of buildings. They know every PLC, every HMI, every servo motor in that facility like the back of their hand. They know its quirks, its history, the one sensor that always acts up when it gets too humid. Their job is primarily maintenance and troubleshooting. When a multi-million-dollar production line grinds to a halt at 3 a.m. because a proximity switch failed, they are the ones who get the call. They are the first responders. Their value is in their deep, specific knowledge of their home system and their ability to minimize downtime. Downtime in a modern factory is a four-letter word that costs thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars a minute. So these technicians are incredibly valuable. Their pay structure reflects this role. It's stable. It's predictable. They are typically salaried employees, or hourly workers who get a consistent 40 hours a week, with occasional overtime. They go home to their own bed every night. They might have to work odd shifts or be on call, which can be a grind, but they operate within a familiar environment. The salary for this role is strong, easily ranging from $65,000 for a junior tech in a lower cost of living area to $100,000, even $110,000 for a senior, highly experienced tech in a demanding facility. This is a fantastic, respectable living that provides a great quality of life. You can buy a house, raise a family, and have a stable, in-demand career. But for most in this role, there's a ceiling. A comfortable ceiling, but a ceiling nonetheless. Once you become the senior expert at your plant, the major pay jumps tend to level off. You're capped by the internal budget of that single facility. Now let's walk across that great divide. Let's talk about the other path. The path of the integration technician, often called a field service engineer or a controls specialist. These are the road warriors. They don't have one home factory. Their home is a suitcase. They are the mercenaries of the automation world, deployed to wherever the newest, most complex projects are happening. They don't maintain existing systems. They build them. They are the ones on site for months at a time, commissioning a brand new automotive body shop in Tennessee, or installing a cutting-edge pharmaceutical packaging line in New Jersey, or upgrading the baggage handling system at LAX. Their job is to take a collection of brand new robots, conveyors, and controllers and breathe life into them, making them work together as a symphony of production. This lifestyle is not for everyone. It means long stretches away from home. It means living in hotels and eating at restaurants for weeks on end. It means immense pressure, because they are on the critical path of a multi-million-dollar project with unforgiving deadlines. If they fall behind schedule, the entire project falls behind. But the compensation structure is designed to reward that sacrifice, and this is where the numbers get truly insane. An integration tech's base salary might not look dramatically different from a senior in-house tech. It might be $90,000, $100,000, maybe $120,000. But the base salary is just the launching pad. It's the other components that create the financial explosion. First and most importantly, overtime. Project work is deadline-driven. It is not a 40-hour week job. 60, 70, even 80-hour weeks are the norm, not the exception, especially during the final commissioning phase of a project. And in the United States, most of these technician roles are non-exempt, meaning they are legally entitled to overtime pay. Let's do some quick math. A base salary of $104,000 a year is exactly $50 per hour. At time and a half, your overtime rate is $75 per hour. If you work a 60-hour week, that's 20 hours of overtime. That's an extra $1,500. For 1 week, if you do that for a 3-month project, that's an extra $18,000 on top of your regular pay. Many of these projects last 6, 9, or even 12 months. The overtime pay can literally double a technician's base salary. But we're not done. Next up is per diem. When you're traveling for work, the company pays for your living expenses. This is often paid as a per diem, a flat, daily allowance for food and incidental expenses. This rate, set by the government, can range from $51 to $79 a day, depending on the city. And here's the magic key. Per diem is not taxed. It is not income. It is a reimbursement. So let's take a conservative average of $60 a day. If you are on the road for 45 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, that's an extra $13,500. Tax-free. In your pocket. Many companies pay it for all 7 days you're on the road, which pushes that number to over $21,000 a year. This is the money you use for food, but a savvy tech can cook meals in their extended stay hotel and pocket a significant portion of it. And we're still not done. Add in all the travel perks, the millions of airline miles, the mountains of hotel loyalty points, the rental car points. These are a form of shadow compensation. The top-tier integration techs I know haven't paid for a personal flight or a family vacation hotel in a decade. A 2-week trip to Hawaii for a family of 4? The flights and hotels are completely covered by points earned while they were working. What's the cash value of that? $10,000–$15,000 a year? It's a massive, tangible benefit. So let's put it all together. You have a technician with a base salary of $104,000. They work a year with consistent 60-hour weeks, adding another $78,000 in overtime. They get a modest per diem that lets them pocket $15,000 tax-free. And they accrue enough travel points to take a family vacation worth $10,000. Suddenly, their total compensation isn't $104,000. It's $207,000. We have just doubled their income. And this isn't a fantasy scenario. This is the reality for thousands of controls and automation specialists crisscrossing the country right now. They are the ones pushing their total earnings into the $175,000, $200,000, and I have personally seen over $250,000 a year range. This is the great divide. It's the choice between stability and explosive earning potential. It's the difference between being the guardian of a single kingdom or being a traveling knight, fighting in high-stakes battles all over the country. There is no right or wrong answer. They are two valid and valuable career paths. But understanding this distinction is the absolute key to understanding why one automation technician might make $80,000 a year, and another with the exact same skill set makes over $200,000. The difference isn't just in what they know, but where and how they apply that knowledge. The question you have to ask yourself is, which side of that divide do you want to be on? Because your answer fundamentally changes your career trajectory. But even this choice between the stable plant job and the lucrative road warrior life isn't the full picture. There are hybrid roles, specialized niches, and one particular skill, a non-technical skill, believe it or not, that can supercharge your earnings no matter which path you take. It acts as a universal multiplier on your talent. And that skill is the ability to translate, not languages, but translating technical problems into business solutions. It's the difference between a technician who says, the VFD on conveyor 7 is faulting out because of harmonic distortion, and the technician who says, the main conveyor is down, and it's costing us $12,000 an hour in lost production. I can fix it for good with a $3,000 line reactor, and we'll see a return on that investment in 15 minutes of uptime. See the difference? One is a technical report. The other is a business proposal. The person who can frame their work in terms of dollars, downtime, and efficiency is the one who gets the promotion, the big project, and the salary that comes with it. They stop being seen as a cost center, a necessary expense to fix things, and they become a profit driver. This single communication skill, this ability to speak the language of management, is the most powerful catalyst for your career. It's what separates the $100,000 technician from the $60,000 technician, even if their technical skills are identical. This translator skill is the key that unlocks the world of hybrid roles. These aren't official job titles you'll find on a job board, but they are the reality on the ground in thousands of facilities across America. The first and most common is the technician engineer. This is the automation tech who slowly starts taking on engineering responsibilities. Start small. Instead of just replacing a faulty sensor, they're asked, hey, could you find a better sensor for this application? The current one keeps failing. So they do the research. They spec a new part. They justify the cost. Then it escalates. We need a small control panel for this new sorting line. Can you draw up a schematic and build it? Before you know it, they're programming entire PLCs from scratch, designing HMI screens, and managing small-scale integration projects, all while still holding the title of automation technician. But their pay doesn't stay there. Management recognizes their value isn't just in troubleshooting. It's in creating. They are saving the company from hiring a full-time controls engineer or paying an outside firm $200 an hour. This hybrid technician engineer can easily command a salary of $95,000 to $120,000, often without a 4-year engineering degree, because they are delivering engineer-level results. The second powerful hybrid is the super maintainer. This is the multi-skilled maintenance technician who becomes the plant's unofficial automation guru. In many factories, especially older ones, you have a maintenance team that handles the mechanical side, the hydraulics, the pneumatics, the welding. And then you have that one person, the one they call when a robot crashes or a screen goes blank. This person might have started as an electrician or a mechanic, but they showed an aptitude for the controls side. They took the initiative to learn ladder logic. They downloaded the manuals for the FANUC robots. They figured out the plant's network. To the company, this person is pure gold. Every time a machine with a PLC goes down, the clock starts ticking. Downtime can cost tens of thousands of dollars per hour. The choice is to either wait 4 hours and pay an outside integrator a $2,000 emergency call-out fee, or call the super maintainer who can have it running in 20 minutes. This individual becomes indispensable. They are the first line of defense against catastrophic downtime. Their value is so obvious, so quantifiable, that they can leverage it for incredible pay. It's not uncommon for these top-tier automation-savvy maintenance techs in a high-pressure manufacturing environment to be clearing $110,000, sometimes even $130,000 a year with overtime, because every hour they work saves the company a fortune. Then there's the field sales hybrid. This is the field service technician who understands that their job isn't just to fix the customer's immediate problem. It's to be the eyes and ears of their own company. They go to a customer site to repair a machine, and while they're there, they notice the customer is using an obsolete piece of equipment from a competitor. They see a production bottleneck that a new software upgrade or a new robot could solve. Instead of just packing up their tools when the job is done, they have a conversation. They use that translator skill. They don't say, "You should buy our new X500 model." They say, "I noticed you're getting a lot of rejects on this line. While I was working, I was thinking that if we upgraded this one component, we could probably increase your throughput by 15% and cut your scrap rate in half. Would you be interested in having our sales engineer draw up a proposal?" Suddenly, that technician is no longer just a field service rep. They are a lead generator. They are a sales asset. Companies reward this. They offer commissions, bonuses, or even a pathway into a full-blown sales engineer role. A position that often carries a base salary of $90,000 plus a commission structure that can push total earnings well into the $150,000 range and beyond. They are leveraging their technical credibility to build trust and generate revenue. These hybrid roles are where you find the hidden six-figure salaries. But if you want to find the truly top-tier, eye-watering paychecks, you have to look at the specialized niches. These are industries where the stakes are so high that they're willing to pay an enormous premium for expertise. First up, pharmaceuticals and biotech. Working in this space is a whole different ballgame. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, is king. Every single piece of automated equipment that touches a product, from a mixing tank to a packaging line, must be validated. This means there is a mountain of documentation, installation qualifications, operational qualifications, performance qualifications, proving that the system does exactly what it's supposed to do every single time without deviation. An automation technician in pharma doesn't just fix a machine. They execute changes under strict change control protocols and document every single step. A mistake doesn't just cause downtime. It could lead to a multi-million-dollar product recall, a massive FDA fine, or worse. Because the risk is so immense, the pay is equally impressive. Experienced automation technicians who understand good manufacturing practices, or GMP, and the validation process can easily command salaries from $100,000 to $140,000. Next is aerospace. When you're building a passenger jet, a military drone, or a rocket that sends people to space, there is zero room for error. The tolerances are microscopic. The materials are exotic. The quality control is beyond rigorous. The automation systems used to drill thousands of holes in a fuselage, weld critical components on a jet engine, or lay up carbon fiber composites are some of the most advanced on Earth. Technicians working in this field are often dealing with massive multi-million-dollar gantry robots and CNC machines. They need a deep understanding of metrology, precision calibration, and complex motion control. Furthermore, many of these jobs, especially in the defense sector, require a security clearance, which immediately shrinks the available talent pool and increases your value. The combination of high-stakes work, advanced technology, and security requirements pushes salaries sky high. A senior automation specialist at a prime aerospace contractor can expect to earn between $110,000 and $150,000, or even more if they're in a lead role. And finally, we have the digital bedrock of our modern world: semiconductor fabs and data centers. These two are linked by their demand for absolute, uncompromising reliability. In a semiconductor plant, where they're making the computer chips for everything from your phone to your car, the environment is cleaner than an operating room. Technicians work in bunny suits, to prevent a single speck of dust from ruining a batch of wafers worth millions. The automation is incredibly complex, involving robotics, chemical delivery systems, and vacuum chambers all working in perfect harmony. In a data center, the mission is uptime. The automation technician isn't working on a product, they are working on the facility itself. They manage the building automation systems that control the cooling, because the servers generate an incredible amount of heat, and the electrical power monitoring systems that manage the complex web of generators, batteries, and utility feeds. A few minutes of downtime for a company like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft can cost millions of dollars in lost revenue and customer trust. The technicians who keep these billion-dollar facilities running 24/7/365 are compensated accordingly. In both these fields, top-level technicians are regularly earning in the $120,000 to $160,000 range. So you have the generalists, the hybrids, and the specialists. It's a huge range from 50 grand all the way up to 160 grand or more. But there's another giant variable we haven't touched yet. A factor that can drastically alter how much money you actually take home and what your life looks like, even with the exact same salary. It's the single biggest question you have to ask yourself when evaluating a job offer. And the answer isn't as simple as you think. So what is this all-important question? It's not about the industry, the company size, or even the specific job title. It's about three simple words: cost of living. Now I know what you're thinking. Cost of living? Yeah, I know California is more expensive than Ohio. Big deal. But I promise you, you don't truly grasp the sheer monumental scale of this difference until you see the numbers laid bare. It's the difference between making 100 grand and feeling broke versus making 75 grand and feeling rich. Let me prove it to you. Let's imagine two automation technicians. Both are smart, both are skilled, both just got fantastic job offers. We'll call them Alex and Ben. Alex lands a dream job in the heart of Silicon Valley, near San Jose, California. The offer is a staggering $110,000 a year. For a technician, this is top tier. He's ecstatic. He imagines the lifestyle, the prestige, the money rolling in. He signs the offer without a second thought. Meanwhile, Ben gets an offer in a place like Huntsville, Alabama, a city that's rapidly becoming a hub for engineering and advanced manufacturing. His offer is $75,000 a year. On paper, it's a $35,000 pay cut compared to Alex. Most people would look at these two offers and say Alex is the clear winner. But most people would be dead wrong. Let's follow the money. Alex moves to San Jose. That $110,000 salary looks incredible. First, let's talk taxes. California has one of the highest state income tax rates in the country. After federal and state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, his $110,000 a year, which is about $9,167 a month, is immediately slashed down to roughly $6,500 a month in take-home pay. Still a lot of money, right? Well, now Alex needs a place to live. He's not looking for a palace, just a decent one-bedroom apartment. In the San Jose area, the average rent for something like that is easily $3,500 a month. $3,500. Suddenly, his $6,500 in take-home pay becomes just $3,000. And we haven't even paid for utilities, which can easily add another $200. So now he's at $2,800. Then he has to eat. Groceries in high cost of living areas are notoriously expensive. His food budget is probably around $600 a month, and that's being conservative. Now he's down to $2,200. He needs to get to work. Gas in California is consistently the most expensive in the nation. Add in car insurance and he's spending another $400 a month on transportation. We're at $1,800. Let's not forget a cell phone bill, internet, maybe a student loan payment, and just basic everyday expenses, a coffee, a lunch out with coworkers. Let's be generous and say that's another $800. At the end of the month, Alex, the guy making $110,000 a year, is left with maybe $1,000. $1,000 to save, to invest, to use for hobbies, travel, or emergencies. He's living paycheck to paycheck on a six-figure salary. He can't even dream of saving for a down payment on a house, where the median home price is over $1 million. He feels trapped. The golden salary has become a golden cage. Now let's look at Ben in Huntsville, Alabama. His salary is $75,000. That's about $6,250 a month before taxes. Alabama's state income tax is much lower than California's. After all the same deductions, Ben's take-home pay is around $4,600 a month. On paper, that's $1,900 less than Alex. It seems like a huge disadvantage. But watch what happens. Ben goes to find a one-bedroom apartment, just like Alex's. But in Huntsville, a nice modern one-bedroom doesn't cost $3,500. It costs about $1,200. $1,200. Instantly, his $4,600 in take-home pay only drops to $3,400. After his apartment, Ben already has $600 more in his pocket than Alex does. Let's keep going. Utilities are a bit cheaper, maybe $150 a month. He's at $3,250. Groceries are closer to the national average, so let's say that's $450 a month. He's at $2,800. Gas prices are way lower. His transportation costs, including insurance, are probably closer to $250 a month. Now he's at $2,550. He has the same miscellaneous bills, cell phone, internet, student loans, a few lunches out. Let's say that's the same $800 as Alex. At the end of the month, Ben, the guy making $35,000 less per year, is left with $1,750. That's 75% more disposable income than Alex. Let that sink in. Ben can comfortably put over $1,000 a month into savings and still have plenty of money left over for fun. The median home price in Huntsville? It's around $300,000. Saving for a down payment isn't a pipe dream. It's a realistic 5-year plan. Ben's $75,000 salary gives him a quality of life, financial freedom, and a path to wealth that Alex's $110,000 salary can't even touch. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the reality of purchasing power. A salary is just a number. What truly matters is what that number can buy you where you live. Using a cost of living calculator, Alex's $110,000 salary in San Jose has the same buying power as about $55,000 in Huntsville. Ben is making $75,000. He is, in real terms, $20,000 a year richer than Alex. Now, this isn't just about picking extreme examples. This principle applies across the board. The sweet spot for many technicians is in what we call medium cost of living, or MCOL cities. These are places with booming manufacturing and tech sectors, but without the insane price tags of the coastal hubs. Think of places like Raleigh, North Carolina, Columbus, Ohio, Phoenix, Arizona, or the suburbs of major Texas cities. These areas offer a fantastic blend of high-paying automation jobs and a cost of living that allows you to actually build a life and save for the future. You get the career opportunities without selling your financial soul. However, there is a counterargument. Why would anyone ever take Alex's job in San Jose? The answer is career velocity. A place like Silicon Valley has a density of opportunity you won't find anywhere else. The networking is unparalleled. The exposure to cutting-edge technology is immense. While Alex might be struggling now, being in that environment could allow him to jump to a $150,000 job in just 2 years, and then a $200,000 job 2 years after that. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. You sacrifice your quality of life for 5 years in the hopes of accelerating your career trajectory at a speed that simply isn't possible in a smaller market. It's a trade-off, and you have to be honest with yourself about which path you want to take. Financial stability now, or a gamble on faster long-term growth. So before you get mesmerized by a big salary number, I want you to do something. Google the phrase cost of living calculator. There are dozens of them. You can plug in your potential salary in the new city, and it will tell you exactly how it compares to where you live now. It's a simple 5-minute exercise that can save you from years of financial stress. It's the single most important piece of research you can do when evaluating a job offer. But even if you find the perfect job in the perfect city with the perfect salary, there's another hidden factor that can make or break your entire financial future. It's not about where you live, but who you work for. The difference between a good company and a great company isn't just the culture. It's a set of benefits that can be worth tens of thousands of dollars a year. And most technicians don't even know how to properly evaluate them. Let's break this down, because your base salary is just the tip of the iceberg. Your total compensation is what truly matters, and benefits are the massive, hidden part of that iceberg that can sink your financial future if you ignore them. We're going to look at the big 3: health insurance, retirement, and paid time off, and I'm going to put real dollar amounts on them so you can see the staggering difference. First, let's talk about health insurance. This is, without a doubt, the single most valuable benefit a company can offer. And the difference between a mediocre plan and a great one isn't a few $100s. It's thousands, potentially tens of thousands. Imagine you get two offers, both for $75,000 a year. Company A says, "We cover 100% of your family's health insurance premiums on our top-tier PPO plan." Company B says, "We offer a high-deductible plan, and you'll contribute $400 a month for your family." Most people just see the $400 deduction and think, okay, that's about $5,000 a year. So Company A is paying me $5,000 more. But that's not even close to the full picture. The true cost for a company to provide that top-tier family plan can be over $25,000 a year. The high-deductible plan might only cost them $12,000. So right away, Company A is investing $13,000 more into you than Company B. But it gets deeper. That high-deductible plan at Company B might have a $6,000 family deductible. That means you have to spend $6,000 of your own money on medical care before the insurance even starts paying for most things. The premium PPO plan at Company A? It might have a $500 deductible. So, if your kid breaks their arm and you have a trip to the emergency room at Company B, you're paying that $400 monthly premium, plus you're on the hook for the first $6,000 in bills. At Company A, you pay nothing monthly, and you're only on the hook for $500. In one single incident, the job at Company A just saved you over $10,000 out of pocket. That's not a benefit, that's a financial lifeline. When you evaluate an offer, you have to ask for the summary of benefits. Look at the monthly premium you pay, the annual deductible, and the out-of-pocket maximum. A company that covers the full premium on a low-deductible plan is effectively handing you a check for an extra $10,000 to $15,000 a year in value compared to a company with a cheap plan. Next up is the 401k match, which is the closest thing to free money you will ever get in your entire life. If you are not taking full advantage of your company match, you are setting $100 bills on fire. It's that simple. Let's go back to our two companies, both offering $75,000. Company A offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to 6%. Company B offers a 50% match up to 6%. The language is subtle, but the difference is huge. At Company A, if you put 6% of your salary into your 401k, which is $4,500, they will put an additional $4,500 into your account for you. It's a 100% return on your investment instantly. At Company B, if you put in that same $4,500, they'll only contribute half of that, which is $2,250. That's a difference of over $2,000 a year. Now you might think, okay, $2,000, that's nice but not life-changing. You could not be more wrong. Let's say you're 30 years old. That extra $2,250 a year, invested over 35 years with a modest 8% average return, will grow to over $400,000 by the time you retire. $400,000. All from choosing the company with the better match. It is the single easiest way to build wealth. A weak 401k match isn't just a bad benefit. It's a direct tax on your retirement dreams. The third monster benefit is paid time off, or PTO. This isn't just about vacation. It's about your effective hourly rate. Let's stick with our $75,000 salary. This breaks down to about $36 an hour. Company A offers a generous PTO package, 4 weeks of vacation and 10 paid holidays. That's 30 paid days off per year. Company B offers a standard package, 2 weeks of vacation and 6 paid holidays. That's 16 paid days off per year. The difference is 14 working days. At $36 an hour, that's 8 hours a day for 14 days. That comes out to $4,032. Company A is paying you over $4,000 to not work. You are getting the exact same salary, but you are working almost 3 full weeks less to earn it. Your time is your most valuable non-renewable resource. A company that gives you more of it back while paying you the same is dramatically increasing your quality of life and your real compensation. Think about it. That's 3 extra weeks you could spend with your family working on a side project or just recharging, all while getting paid. So let's tally this up. Alex takes the job at Company A. Ben takes the job at Company B. Both have a salary of $75,000. Alex at Company A has a health plan that saves him, let's be conservative, $8,000 a year in premiums and potential out-of-pocket costs. He gets an extra $2,250 in his 401k. And he gets an extra $4,000 worth of paid time off. His total compensation isn't $75,000. It's $75,000 plus 8 plus 2 plus 4. Alex is making a real salary of $89,250. Ben at Company B is just making $75,000. On paper, they look the same. In reality, Alex is making nearly $15,000 more per year, with a better retirement outlook and more time off. And we haven't even touched the other benefits that can stack on top of this. Things like a company vehicle. If you're a field technician, this is a game changer. A company truck or van means you're not putting miles on your personal vehicle. You're not paying for gas. You're not paying for insurance or maintenance. The average cost of owning and operating a vehicle is over $10,000 a year according to AAA. A company vehicle hands all of that value directly to you. What about a tool allowance? A $1,000 annual tool allowance is $1,000 of your own money you don't have to spend. What about tuition reimbursement? If a company pays $5,000 for you to get a new certification in PLC programming, and that certification allows you to get a $10,000 raise the next year, that's an incredible return. When you add it all up, the technician who carefully evaluates and chooses a company with a top-tier benefits package can easily be making $20,000, $30,000, even $40,000 more in total value than a technician at another company with the exact same base salary. This is the secret that separates the technicians who build wealth and live comfortably from those who are always feeling like they're one unexpected bill away from disaster. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how much your company invests in you beyond that paycheck. So you understand the value, but how do you actually get a company to give you this? Most technicians are terrified of negotiation. They accept the first offer and leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table. But there's a simple 3-step framework that the best technicians use to maximize their offer without ever sounding greedy or burning bridges. And in the next part, I'm going to walk you through it word for word. Okay, you've received the offer. Your heart is pounding. The number is good, but you know it could be better. This is the single most important financial conversation you might have all year, and your instincts are screaming at you to just say yes and get it over with. Don't. This is where you separate yourself from the pack. Let's break down the 3-step framework. Step 1 is the gratitude anchor. When they present the offer, whether it's over the phone or in an email, your first response is always positive and appreciative. This is non-negotiable. You're not an adversary. You're a future partner. You're setting the stage for a collaborative conversation, not a confrontation. So when the hiring manager says, "We'd like to offer you the automation technician position at $75,000, your response is immediate and genuine. You say something like, "Thank you so much for the offer. I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity to work with the team and contribute to the new production line integration. I was really impressed with the facility and the people I met, and I'm confident this is a great fit." That's it. That's step 1. You've anchored the conversation in positivity. You've affirmed your interest. You've reminded them that you want to be there. This lowers their defenses and makes them more receptive to what comes next. You haven't accepted the offer, but you've graciously acknowledged it. Then you simply add, "Would it be all right if I take a day or two to review the details and get back to you?" They will always say yes. This gives you the breathing room to prepare for step 2. Step 2 is the value pivot. This is the most critical part of the entire negotiation, and it's where most people get it wrong. They make it about what they need or what they want. They'll say things like, "Well, I was hoping for more," or "My other offer is higher." That's a mistake. It frames the negotiation as you versus them. Instead, you need to pivot the conversation back to the value you bring to them. It's not about your needs. It's about their investment in your skills. During that day or two you bought yourself, you're not just thinking. You're preparing your case. You go back to your research. You look at the market data for an automation technician with your specific experience, your years with Allen Bradley PLCs, your certification in FANUC robotics, your expertise in troubleshooting VFDs in that specific city. You get a hard number, a data-backed figure that represents the upper end of the fair market range. Let's say your research shows that top-tier technicians with your skill set in that area are making between $82,000 and $88,000. The offer was $75,000. Now you have a target, but you don't just present the number. You build a bridge of value to it. You review the job description and your interview notes. What were their biggest pain points? Did they mention excessive downtime on a specific machine? Were they struggling with a recent system upgrade? You're going to connect your proven skills directly to solving their expensive problems. So when you call back, you start by resetting the gratitude anchor. "Hi Jane. Thanks again for sending over the offer. I've had a chance to review it, and I am still very excited about the role." Then you execute the value pivot. You say, "Based on my understanding of the role, a key priority is reducing the downtime on the packaging line, which we discussed was a major challenge last quarter. In my previous role, I led a project to optimize the PLC logic on a similar system, which resulted in a 20% reduction in unplanned stops. I also noticed the job requires significant experience with Cognex vision systems, and my certification and hands-on experience there will allow me to get that new inspection station running at peak efficiency from day one, without a long learning curve. Do you see what's happening? You haven't mentioned money yet. You've just spent 30 seconds reminding them why they want you. You're not just any technician. You are a solution to their specific, costly problems. You're framing yourself as an investment that will pay dividends in uptime and efficiency. You're changing the conversation from, "How much does this guy cost?" to, "How much is this guy worth to us?" Now, and only now, are you ready for step 3, the collaborative ask. This is where you transition from value to the number itself, but you do it as a question, not a demand. Demands create conflict. Questions create collaboration. You're inviting them to solve a problem with you. The problem is the gap between their offer and your market value. After you've made your value statement, you seamlessly transition into the ask. It sounds like this. With my specific expertise in robotic system integration and PLC5 to control logics migration, which I know is a key project for the coming year, my salary expectations are more in the $85,000 range. Based on the value I can bring to these specific initiatives, is there any flexibility in the compensation package to help us get closer to that number? Let's break down the power of that sentence. You didn't say, "I want 85,000. You said your expectations are in that range, which is softer. You tied it directly back to the value you just established, the PLC migration project. And the magic is in the final question. Is there any flexibility to help us get closer? You've put the ball in their court. You've made them a partner in finding a solution. It's no longer a battle. It's a collaborative puzzle. Now you stop talking. The silence might feel uncomfortable, but you must let them speak next. The hiring manager is now running through a mental checklist. They remember how great the interview was. They remember the specific problems you just reminded them you could solve. They know finding another candidate with your specific skills could take weeks, even months, costing them time and money. 9 times out of 10, their response won't be a flat no. It will be, "Let me see what I can do." They might come back and meet you at 85. They might come back at 82 and say it's the best they can do. And at that point, you can graciously accept, knowing you've just increased your starting salary by $7,000 with a single 2-minute phone call. That's over $35,000 in just 5 years. But what if they do say no? What if they say, "I'm sorry, but $75,000 is the absolute top of the budget for this role"? This is where the pros have a plan B. You pivot again, this time to non-salary benefits. Your response is still positive and collaborative. "I understand completely. I'm still very enthusiastic about the opportunity. Since the base salary isn't flexible, could we perhaps explore other options? For example, would it be possible to arrange for a performance and salary review after 6 months instead of the usual 12? Or perhaps a small sign-on bonus to help cover the transition?" You could also ask about a professional development budget for that new certification you want, or even an extra week of vacation time. These things often come from different budgets and are much easier for a manager to get approved. This allows them to say yes, and for you to still get more value, creating a win-win scenario. By following this 3-step framework, gratitude anchor, value pivot, and collaborative ask, you transform a terrifying, confrontational moment into a professional, respectful negotiation. You're not being greedy. You're simply communicating your market value in a way that aligns with the company's own best interests. This is how top technicians ensure they're paid what they're truly worth, every single time. But once you've locked in that top-tier salary, the game changes. Now it's all about proving you were worth every penny and setting yourself up for the next big promotion. The most successful technicians have a roadmap for their first 90 days that virtually guarantees success and puts them on the fast track to a senior role. And that's the final piece of the puzzle we're going to unlock. It's a framework that separates the technicians who stall at $60,000 a year from those who are on a clear path to 6 figures within their first few years. This isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter from the moment you walk through the door. We're going to break this down into 3 phases. Your first 30 days, your next 30, and the final 30. Month 1 is your sponge phase. Your only job is to learn. Forget being a hero. Forget trying to fix the plant's biggest problem on day 2. You will fail and you'll look arrogant doing it. Your mission is to absorb information like a dry sponge in a rainstorm. You need to become an expert on one thing, the current state of the facility. Get a map of the plant and walk it until you don't need the map anymore. Identify the critical production lines. Where does the raw material come in? Where does the finished product go out? What are the biggest bottlenecks that cause downtime? But more importantly, you need to map the people. Who is the senior maintenance guy who knows where every wire is buried? Who is the operator on third shift who can tell you exactly what a machine sounds like right before it fails? These people are your living textbooks. They hold decades of tribal knowledge that isn't written in any manual. Approach them with humility. Ask questions. Don't say, "Why do you do it that way?" Say, "Can you help me understand the process here?" Buy them a coffee. Listen to their stories. Your goal in the first 30 days is not to be the smartest person in the room, but the most observant and respected listener. You are gathering intelligence. You're building a mental model of the entire operation, both the mechanical and the human systems. By the end of month 1, you shouldn't be the star technician, but you should know who to talk to about any problem in the plant, and they should know you as the new person who listens more than they talk. That respect is currency, and you're about to cash it in. Month 2 is your contribution phase. Now that you have the lay of the land, it's time to start adding value, but you have to be strategic. You're still not trying to solve the million-dollar problem. You're looking for small, visible wins. You're going to become the master of the annoying, low-hanging fruit. Is there a sensor that constantly needs to be cleaned or realigned? A safety switch that gets tripped by accident all the time? A part of the HMI that's confusing for operators? These are the problems that are too small for a major engineering project but big enough to annoy everyone on a daily basis. These are your targets. Volunteer for the jobs nobody else wants. The dirty PMs, the repetitive calibration tasks. Why? Because it shows you're a team player, not a rock star. While you're doing these tasks, you're also getting valuable hands-on time with the equipment, reinforcing what you learned in month 1. When you fix one of these small, nagging problems, document it. Take a picture of the before and after. Write a simple one-page summary of what the problem was, how you fixed it, and what the result is. Email it to your supervisor. Not in a "look how great I am" way, but in a "hey, just wanted to let you know I resolved that recurring issue on line 3 way. These small wins start to stack up. People begin to associate you with solutions, not problems. You're building a reputation for reliability and competence. You're no longer just the new person. You're the person who gets things done. Month 3 is your initiative phase. This is where you shift from being a reactive problem solver to a proactive force for improvement. You've earned some credibility. You understand the systems. Now, you're going to start thinking like an engineer. When something breaks, don't just fix it. Ask yourself why it broke. And don't stop at the first answer. Use the 5 whys technique. The motor burned out. Why? Because the bearing seized. Why? Because it wasn't lubricated. Why? Because the PM schedule for that motor was missed. Why? Because it's in a hard-to-reach spot and gets forgotten. Why? Because there's no clear access panel or lubrication point marked. Boom! The real problem isn't the motor. It's a poor design that makes maintenance difficult. The fix isn't just replacing the motor. The real value-added solution is to propose installing an access panel and a clearly marked, easily accessible grease fitting. You're not just putting out fires anymore. You're fireproofing the building. This is the moment you transition from technician to technologist. You draft a simple proposal. Here's the problem. We lose this motor every 6 months, costing us X in downtime and Y in parts. Here's my proposed solution. A one-time modification costing Z that will prevent the failure from happening again. You present this to your boss. Even if they say no, you have fundamentally changed their perception of you. You are now a strategic asset, someone who thinks about saving the company money in the long term. And when they say yes, and you implement that solution, you have a tangible, quantifiable achievement you can put on your performance review and your resume. You've just laid the groundwork for your next promotion. So how does this 90-day roadmap translate into real dollars? It's simple. This is the exact path that takes you from the median salary to the top of the pay scale and beyond. By mastering this framework, you're not just waiting for a raise. You're building an undeniable case for one. After a year of operating this way, you're no longer just a technician. You're the go-to person on your shift. You're the one they call when the senior guys are stumped. That's when you make the jump to senior automation technician. This is where you comfortably move into that $90,000, $100,000, or even $110,000 range. You're given more autonomy, you're trusted with more complex systems, and you might even start mentoring the new hires, teaching them the very same principles you used to get there. But it doesn't stop there. Remember that initiative phase, where you started thinking like an engineer? You've been building a portfolio of successful improvement projects. You've proven you can diagnose root causes and design effective solutions. This is your leverage to move into a controls or automation engineer role. Many companies will promote from within for these roles, especially for someone who has demonstrated the skill set, often valuing your hands-on experience over a traditional engineering degree. This is the leap that takes you from $100,000 to $120,000, $130,000 or more. You're now designing the systems, not just maintaining them. And for those with a talent for organization and seeing the big picture, your experience leading these small improvement projects makes you a prime candidate for a project manager. You've shown you can identify a problem, scope a solution, and see it through to completion. This path can lead to even higher salaries, focusing more on budgets, timelines, and managing teams. Finally, for the true specialist, there's the path of the contractor. As you become a recognized expert on a specific platform, Siemens, Rockwell, Fanuc Robotics, you can step out on your own. Companies will pay a premium $100, $150, even $200 an hour for you to fly in for a week and solve the critical problem that has their multi-million-dollar line shut down. This is the path to $200,000 a year and beyond, offering ultimate freedom but requiring a mastery of your craft. The answer to how much do automation technicians really make is that the number is a choice. It's not a fixed value determined by a job title. It's a reflection of the value you create. You can choose to be the person who just replaces parts, and you'll earn a decent, stable living. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you want to reach the upper echelons of this field, you have to choose to be more. You have to be a detective, a problem solver, a strategist, and a leader. The salary isn't just for what you do with your hands. It's for what you do with your mind. The tools, the PLCs, the robots, they're just the beginning. Your curiosity, your initiative, and your ability to see the system behind the symptoms, that is your real toolkit. And it's what will ultimately determine your worth in this industry. Build your foundation, create value, and the income will inevitably follow.